Hi, Leo. Welcome to your April 2020 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, I just was looking at my list of transits for April and I saw the word April and I just sighed because I love April. I love March too when I'm recording this, but April feels so fresh to me. I realize that some people it's the beginning of the autumn, but in my neck of the woods, it's the beginning of spring, and there's just this feeling of joy, of renewal. And so, with Leo, because you're a fire sign, the fact that the sun begins the month in fellow fire sign Aries is really cool because um, this is a trine, and this is an angle that is very supportive of manifestation for the things that you want to bring into reality. And so these two sun signs, the transiting sun and your sun, or if you're talking about the rising sign, it works as well, really create a nice energy flow. And it's coming from the ninth house, which is Sagittarius's house, another fire sign, besides Aries and Leo. And this is philosophical energy and positive. Jupiter is a ruler of that house. So there's like expansive thinking, which is great because being a fire sign, you really vibe with that. And I'll get to when Mercury goes into this ninth house because that'll be more of the mindset. But with the sun there, it's just the way you're carrying yourself. And on the 3rd of April, Venus goes into Gemini. So that's another friendly angle to Leo. And this is your 11th house of hopes and wishes. Venus, and it's also the house of friendships. So this is a social time. Venus is kind of a social butterfly, and you may get some kind of financial benefits from friends, even. I mean, that's a possibility, or some kind of collective, like a group, that somehow you profit from that, or otherwise your life is made sweeter from other people. You can find love through an organization you belong to or through your social circle, and just even have the money for some of your dreams to come true. On the 7th, we have a full moon at 18 degrees of Libra. So now we're talking about another air sign, but it's on the other side of you. So it's actually ahead of you on the wheel. And this is the 3rd house. So full moon in the 3rd house can bring to a closure some kind of training. If you have been getting certified in something, this is more of a short range thing. It's not university per se, but more of like a practical skill or something along those lines. I mean, I could see if you already have like a bachelor's or a master's degree that especially like in teaching, that you get another endorsement, which is then you can teach a different subject and things like that. I would maybe put that under the 3rd house. The 3rd house is teaching and learning, the lower grades, and also mundane knowledge, and the media can be the 3rd house. So also siblings. So full moon can make you aware of something that's going on with one of your siblings. Also, if you've been having trouble with with a sibling, or even the whole bunch of them, you might just say, I've had enough of this. And so if you've been writing something, you might be, I mean, this could be actually good for like coming up with an idea of what to write, like writing a novel or something like that, or a blog. Maybe a blog would be even more what the third house represents because it's more immediate. Not sure, but something, either an idea or you're finished with it. On the 11th, Mercury goes into that ninth house, and this is about thinking about what you view life as being for you. So Mercury has been in the 8th house, and that's pretty deep, and that's really probing your psyche. In the ninth house, this is more of the, it's, instead of metaphysics, this is more like doctrine, okay? So religious doctrine. Some people would call it dogma, but the whole idea of, what do I stand for? What do I feel? What are my ethics in life? How does this inform my choices in life? And the reason that this is so important is that you're going to have Mercury also going into the 10th house at the end of the month, and that's the career sector. So all of this is interconnected because it's really about the direction you're going in life, and we're always reassessing these things. They're always things that are important to us from the standpoint of trying to make sense of life and how we fit in the grand scheme of things. And, so that's the bigger picture is the ninth house. This can be good for studying language. So maybe that has some connection to the third house. These are opposing houses. And perhaps you're interested in, or maybe you're researching a program at a university. On the 19th, the sun goes into Taurus, another fixed sign, and it forms a square, but that's not necessarily bad. Even though it's a challenging aspect, it's the 10th house for you. So it kind of grinds against your sun or your rising sign in that first house about like, who am I? And butting up against that, who do I want to become? Or who am I in the world? How does this all connect here? And kind of putting those pieces together. So you're going to start getting into this. You're going to have these transits in the 10th house, and it's going to be career power empowerment here. The new moon is a few days later on the 22nd at 3 degrees of Taurus. So perhaps new opportunities, new directions in career. On the 25th, Pluto goes retrograde at 25 degrees of Capricorn. You've had Pluto in your 6th house, which is, can be connected to career. It's your service to others. That's just one aspect of it. But you've had this for years. And so, if you've had any problems in the workplace with power plays, with coworkers, this is going to be a time where you need to look at yourself and how you contribute to that. Because you may be like going from one workplace to the other, and these things keep cropping up. One thing I will say about Leo is that I feel that you are a natural born leader. So if you're in a subordinate position, if you're taking orders from somebody else, you're not going to really, I think, take a liking to that, if in most cases, unless you have a lot of Virgo, and that's kind of service oriented and more humble than Leo, which wants to be the center of the universe. And that's, you're ruled by the sun. I mean, the sun is very important to it's crucial to the function of those of us humanoids on planet Earth here. So but the real test of somebody who is trying to empower themselves is not to run roughshod over others in the process. And that's where it gets a little bit tricky, because I know myself. I know when I feel out of control, that's when I feel like nagging my partner, and he does the same with me. And I tell him, I go, you're being controlling, because, he's not always like that. So it's like, I think it's like a reptilian thing. I think we just go into that mode because we feel so out of control. So I mean, this transit began in 2008 in your sixth house. Of course, it's going to vary from Leo to Leo, but quite a few years ago, regardless. And you are really changing that, the whole concept of what does it mean to serve others. Perhaps you did go into, before this transit, maybe you were thinking more of the glory, which I associate with the 10th house. And now it's more about, oh no, whatever our occupation is in this life, we have to do it with humility. We cannot be self-aggrandizing as we do something, even if we're super talented at what we do, because there are these terms, service to self and service to others. And the sixth house is a house of service. So it's really about changing, eradicating those ideas about service to self, and becoming more of a selfless servant, because that's what really service is all about. And this can also be with health issues, because Pluto is like a purifier. There's another word, detoxifier. I'm thinking of another word. I can't think of it. Purging. Yeah, that was something like that. And so you may have even gotten into a much more strict diet in the last decade or so, because ostensibly about something else, but really because of this influence. I mean, there might have been some health challenge that you had that made you do this. But with the Pluto retrograde, it's about looking at it from an internalized, not just the body, because this is an earth house, the sixth house. And it's easy to get caught up in the mundane manifestation of something without really looking at it from an internalized perspective. How the mind, the psychology, the emotions, how they impact the health adversely, or conversely, in a good way. On the 27th, Mercury goes into Taurus, that 10th house. You might be speaking to people in positions of authority. Who knows? People that can help you get ahead. So that's very good. And you're just thinking like you might be researching careers. If you're going off into a new direction, since the new moon has just occurred about 5 days earlier, that you might be learning more about what you really want to do, if that's something that is apropos for your particular situation. So there you have it, Leo. That's what I have for you. If you'd like a personal reading, the link is below. I do natal chart interpretations. I also do, I have a new one that's like an hour, and it's just all some of the important transits that are occurring in the next year for you in certain areas of life. So you can check that out at rainamoonastrology.com. The link is below. Take care. Bye.